Imagine the first light of dawn sliding over stone and sand as it has for 100,000 years. The cold air of night peeling back while birds and insects lift their tiny hymns, and somewhere an ancestor watches the horizon like a heartbeat monitor because for them, the sun rising is the difference between feast and famine, warmth and frost, life and death. That is where our story begins with survival, the oldest religion of all. Before there were names for gods, there were consequences, fields that greened only when the days grew longer, animals that migrated on a schedule the sky announced, bodies that woke and slept to a rhythm set by a blazing clock nobody could touch. Miss the season by a week and your tribe starves, hit it perfectly and your village thrives, so people everywhere, from misty islands to high plateaus, learn to read the sun as if it were script. Across the world, stones rose into careful circles and corridors, Stonehenge catching the solstices like a trap for time, Newgrange letting one single winter solstice beam enter a tomb and turn darkness to honey. Desert spirals in Chaco Canyon carving equinox daggers of light because if you can turn sun into schedule, you can turn uncertainty into bread, and nothing is holier than bread when winter is long. Power noticed. Rulers in golden crowns stepped into the glow and said, "This light anoints me." In Egypt, the pharaoh sailed with Ra across the heavens by day and through the underworld by night. In the Andes, the Sapa Inca was literally the child of Inti. In Japan, the imperial line traced to Amaterasu, the radiant goddess whose light sanctioned the throne. Palaces and avenues were aligned so sunrise poured down their axes like a royal decree. The cosmos agrees with the crown. But facts alone don't endure, stories do. So cultures turned astronomy into unforgettable theater. Ra battles the serpent Apophis every night and wins at dawn. The Aztec fifth sun demands repayment in blood for its daily struggle. Helios and later Apollo drives a chariot across the sky. Surya's 7 horses are the colors of light, rains taught with spectrum. Hoyi saves the scorched earth by shooting down 9 rogue suns. Sol flees the Volfskull, promising a daily chase. MBUA lassos the sun to slow its sprint so days last long enough to fish, farm, and love. If myths are memory palaces, the sun is the main hall, and people teach their children. Help the light return, keep the world in order. Then the sky performs its greatest tricks and seals the deal. Noon turns to night under a black coin, the corona blazing like a crown of thorns. Winter sundogs hang phantom suns beside the real one. Auroras ripple like silk banners from another realm. Priests who can predict these spectacles seem to bargain with gods, and in times before weather apps, prophecy feels like power. Architecture becomes liturgy, pyramids at Giza almost perfectly pinned to the cardinal points. El Castillo at Chichen Itza calling a serpent of shadow down its staircase at the equinox. Karnak's long stone corridor swallowing sunrise and igniting its sanctuary. The Intihuatana of Machu Picchu, the hitching post of the sun, fixing the air with a bond of light. These places aren't just monuments, they're machines, stone computers that turn orbit into omen. With such machinery comes duty and fear. What if the sun tireless, generous stumbles? What if night wins? Ritual steps in where control ends, hymns in the Nile dawn, incense curling in temple air. Maize, feathers, and blood offered in Mesoamerica to repay a cosmic debt. Bonfires on European hills coaxing summer back across the threshold. Fasts and dances, processions and calendar feasts, all converting helplessness into choreography. We rise the sun together. And yet behind every chant is a practical genius, a line planting with light, anchor kingship to predictable spectacle. Teach children the seasons through story so nobody forgets when to sow or gather or celebrate. It's not superstition versus science, it's survival plus meaning, encoded so beautifully that people want to remember it. Follow this thread across continents and you find the same 7 forces weaving the same tapestry. Survival makes the sun sacred, timekeeping makes it necessary. Power makes it political, story makes it unforgettable. Spectacle makes it awesome. Precision makes it credible, fear makes it urgent. That's why strangers who never met farmers in river deltas, sailors on island chains, shepherds on steppe grass built for the same blaze, timed their lives to the same beats and whispered the same daily hope, let it return. The twist is that the instinct never left. Strip off the myths, and we still choreograph our days by the sun's logic. Our clocks are descendants of a shadow on stone. Our moods lift with longer light, our images chase golden hour like a ritual of beauty. Our panels harvest photons with silicon instead of prayer. Our scientists watch the star with instruments that would look like magic to high priests, mapping sunspots and flares that still decide our fortunes, from satellite health to power grids. In one sense, modernity is just a nicer temple with better plumbing still oriented to the east. So, when you stand at dawn and feel your skin drink warmth, you are standing with every ancestor who stared at that horizon and negotiated with time. You're in the long line of people who turned terror into ceremony and ceremony into knowledge, people who built calendars out of rock and crowns out of light, who gave the sun a face and a chariot and a family so their own families could remember the schedule of survival. Think of the first child to step into the beam inside Newgrange and gasp. The mason aligning a stone so the solstice will find it. The priest calculating an eclipse and choosing the moment to speak. The farmer waiting for spring's lengthening. The sailor setting course by a dawn that paints a road on the sea. The emperor framed by sunrise, pretending for a heartbeat he commands it. The storyteller tightening a thread between fear and wonder so a lesson will live longer than any king. They were all answering the same question you just asked. Why did they worship the sun? Because everything they loved depended on it, because it kept promises, because sometimes it broke them, and because the most human thing we do is tell the truth as a story big enough to remember. Tomorrow, when the rim of that star clears your local horizon, take one breath for the farmer, one for the mason, one for the child in the beam, and one for yourself, and hear the oldest chorus in our species rise with the light, come back.